couple of weeks ago, my dad came home with a small job offer. One of his coworkers was going out of town for a few days and needed someone he could trust to watch his house. My dad thought of me immediately. The guy's house had a massive CCTV system, cameras in almost every room, all linked to one big monitor upstairs. Since I'm a computer science major, my dad just assumes I know how to handle anything with wires or screens. The man told my dad he'd pay me $200 for 2 days. Easy money, just watch the house. Whatever that meant. My dad drove me over, introduced us, and the guy gave me a quick rundown. He seemed like the kind of person who didn't want strangers wandering through his place, so he said I should mostly stay in the upstairs room with the monitor. That was fine with me. I set up my laptop, turned on the TV for some background noise, and spent most of the day doing homework. Ironically, the one thing I did the least was actually watch the monitors. When night came, I realized something weird. We hadn't talked about where I was supposed to sleep, so I sat back down at the desk and started checking the cameras to see which rooms had beds or couches. That's when I noticed it. The back screen door downstairs was wide open. I didn't remember it being open before. My heart started racing. I clicked through every camera feed, kitchen, hallway, living room. Then I saw something else. The closet door in the living room was open too. I was sure it hadn't been earlier. My hands started to shake. I grabbed my phone and texted my dad. "Call the homeowner, something's not right." I texted my dad and told him to call the homeowner. Maybe he'd come back early. While waiting, I kept watching the monitors. On the grainy screen, the dark image flickered, and then I saw it. A tall figure stepped out of the closet. It didn't move like a normal person. It was slow, careful, almost deliberate. All I could see was a black shadow stretching across the room. My heart stopped. I pulled my hands to my mouth, terrified. But when I did, my elbow accidentally knocked something heavy off the desk. It crashed onto the floor with a loud thud. On the monitor, the figure immediately looked up toward the ceiling. Toward me. I froze, watching as it turned and began walking toward the stairs. One step, then another, slow, heavy. I could almost hear the creaking in my head, even though the feed was silent. I grabbed my phone again, fingers shaking, just as a message came from my dad. "No, he's not home. I talked to him half an hour ago. Why?" My stomach dropped. I could barely breathe. I was typing back, "Call the cops," when I heard a knock at the door. Not downstairs, not across the hall, the door. The one to the room I was in. My eyes shot to the monitor, and there it was. The same dark figure standing right outside my door. For a second, I couldn't move. Then I remembered that door didn't have a lock. Pure panic took over. I did the only thing I could think of. I climbed onto the desk, shoved open the window, and jumped. I hit the bushes below hard, rolled, and ran. I didn't stop until I was halfway down the street, soaked, shaking, out of breath. Then my phone buzzed. It was my dad. He called the homeowner immediately. The man said no one had permission to be in his house. No keys, no relatives, nothing. He called the cops, and they checked the security footage later. I saw everything. The intruder breaking the glass door in the back, creeping through the rooms, hiding in the closet. Then, after I jumped out the window, they saw him run too, straight out into the night. The intruder was never found. The footage was too dark to make out his face, just a moving shadow that disappeared into the night. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still picture him standing there, at the bottom of the stairs, looking up like he knew exactly where I was. I've never agreed to house sit again, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. One night, I agreed to house sit for a friend while he and his family went on a short vacation. It was just for one night, easy money. I'd been to their house plenty of times, so nothing felt strange. I fed the cats, the fish, and the birds, watched some TV, and decided to sleep on the couch in the sunroom, my favorite room in the house. It was small, surrounded by windows, with a big TV mounted on the wall. I fell asleep with the TV on, but woke up later to complete darkness. The air felt different. Still, cold, heavy. Then, I heard it. The soft clack of the PVC gate closing outside. My first thought was wind, until I heard it again. A slow, steady crunch of leaves. That's when I knew someone was out there. When I finally found the courage to look, my heart nearly stopped. Outside, pressed against the glass, right behind the couch, was a face. Someone was standing there, their breath fogging up the window, staring in. I couldn't tell if they could actually see me, but I could feel their eyes on me. Every muscle in my body froze. I yelled as loud as I could, "Get the hell out of here!" I'm not a big guy, but whoever this person was, they were taller, broader. There was no way I was stepping outside. I thought yelling would scare them off, but it didn't. Instead, they slowly walked across the porch toward the back door. I could see the shadow of their hand on the doorknob. It turned once, then again. My adrenaline kicked in. I sprinted out of the sunroom, grabbed the phone, and shouted, "I'm calling the police!" That finally worked. I heard quick footsteps outside, fading fast. They were gone. I didn't actually call the cops. Instead, I texted my friend to let him know someone had tried to break in. After that, I locked myself in one of the upstairs bedrooms, turned on the lights, and didn't sleep a single minute that night. Every sound made me jump. The house creaking, the wind brushing against the windows. I just stared at the door, waiting for another knock that never came. The next morning, my friend and his family came back early. I met them outside, exhausted, and told them what had happened. But what we found next made it worse. Every single tire on their sedan had been slashed. Deep cuts, one by one. Whoever that person was, they hadn't gone far after all. We tried to figure out why. Maybe someone who hated them knew they'd be gone and planned to break in. Maybe they just wanted to scare whoever was inside. We'll never really know. But honestly, that theory, that it was personal, is the least terrifying explanation. Because the alternative is that it was random, and that they might try it again somewhere else. That night changed me. I used to think house sitting was easy. Feed the pets, watch some TV, lock the doors, and call it a night. But now, every time I stay somewhere alone, I double-check every lock twice, sometimes 3 times, because you never really know who's watching from the dark, waiting for the right moment to test the door handle. Have you ever stayed in someone else's house and felt like something wasn't right? Like you weren't really alone? Share your story below, someone might learn from it, and if you think this one was chilling, watch the next story. It's even more disturbing. Back in college, I used to babysit on weekends to make a little extra money. One afternoon, while I was studying in the library, I noticed a small ad pinned to the bulletin board. It wasn't for babysitting, it was for house sitting. Weekend house sitter wanted, call for details. I remember thinking, easy money, same gig, just no kids to watch. So I tore off the tab with the number and called as soon as I got home. A man named Chuck answered. He sounded friendly enough, maybe mid-40s, and said he and his wife were going away for the weekend. He offered me $200 to stay at their place just to keep an eye on things. It sounded simple, so I agreed. That Friday I met them at their house, and honestly, it was beautiful. Big, clean, way fancier than any place I'd ever been. Chuck showed me around. The kitchen, the living room, the guest rooms upstairs. There were a few of them, and he told me I could stay in any I liked. After that, they left, and I had the whole place to myself. The first day was quiet, almost boring. I ordered food, watched TV, scrolled through my phone, and tried not to think about my friends out partying on a Friday night. But I kept reminding myself, $200 for doing nothing. By midnight, I was half asleep in bed, a movie still playing on the TV. Everything felt calm, safe, until I heard it. A faint click. Then, out of the darkness, a thin line of light crept across the floor. It took me a second to realize where it was coming from. The closet door. And it was slowly opening. I flipped onto my side, my heart pounding so fast it hurt. 200 beats a minute, maybe more. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and tried to look asleep, breathing slow, shallow breaths. Deep down, I knew someone was in that closet. I could feel it. That heavy silence, that weight in the air. I was too terrified to move. Too scared to even breathe loud enough to be heard. It's impossible to describe that kind of fear. The kind that makes you feel small, helpless, like any second might be your last. Then, I heard it. The soft creak of the closet door opening. I couldn't see it, I was facing the wall, but I didn't need to. The sound was enough. I squeezed my eyes shut and told myself not to move, not even an inch. The air felt cold against my back, and every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. I just waited, then another sound. Click. Louder this time. The room went dark again. The light from the closet was gone, and the door must have closed. I wanted to believe whoever was inside had gone back in. But that thought didn't make me feel any better. Because if they were still there, they'd seen me. I tried to plan what to do next, but my mind was blank. Every second stretched forever. Finally, I decided to look, just one quick glance. I turned slowly, pulling the blanket tighter around me, and that's when I saw it. Someone was standing right next to the bed. Their hand was reaching toward me. I didn't think, I just reacted. I threw my arms up, curled against the wall, and screamed. The figure didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there, staring. That was enough. I leapt over the foot of the bed, sprinted for the door, and didn't stop. I tore down the stairs, out the front door, and ran. Barefoot, half-dressed, I didn't care. I ran all the way home without looking back once. When I finally burst through my front door, shaking and out of breath, I grabbed the phone and called Chuck. I told him exactly what happened, that there was someone in his house, and that it was his problem now. Then I hung up. He tried to call me back, but I didn't answer. I didn't want to hear another word. Maybe there was more to it. Maybe they knew whoever that was, or they dealt with break-ins before, and that's why they hired me. I don't know. And honestly, I didn't care. I didn't even want the money anymore. I just wanted to forget that house, that night, and that man named Chuck altogether. Even now, I still think about that closet door. How quiet it was before it opened, how close I came to whatever was standing there. Have you ever been alone in someone else's house and felt that cold feeling, like you weren't really alone? Share your story below, maybe it'll help someone stay safe. And if you think this story was disturbing, watch the next one. It's even more chilling.